She made a promise. The airline tried to stop her. What happened next left everyone speechless. Captain Olivia Bennett had worn the uniform for 12 years. She had weathered deployments that pushed her mind, body, and spirit to their absolute limits. But nothing, no battlefield, no mission, had ever weighed on her like this moment. She was bringing her best friend home. Sergeant Mason Reed wasn't supposed to be in that flag-draped casket. He was supposed to be right next to her, joking about how he could outplay her at poker, debating which diner in San Diego had the best pancakes, or telling her that she needed to lighten up and enjoy life more. But war has its own plans. One moment, they were side by side, pushing through their final mission overseas. The next, he was gone. Before his body was loaded onto the transport, Olivia made a promise to his mother, a promise that wasn't about protocol or procedure. It was about heart. She would bring Mason home. Not a stranger. Not some faceless official. Her. When Olivia stepped into the crowded terminal at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, her uniform was immaculate, her duffel heavy over her shoulder, but her focus was razor-sharp. The noise, the bustling travelers, the chaotic energy of the airport, it all blurred into the background. She was here for one reason, to get Mason back to Brookfield, Kansas, where his family waited, broken but holding on. Everything was in order. The military transport had carried them stateside, and now commercial airlines would take them the final leg. She had the paperwork, the clearance, every official box checked. Yet, her gut twisted with unease. She glanced at her ticket, Gate B77. Departure was in 90 minutes. More than enough time. As she moved toward the gate, her eyes flicked to the tarmac through towering windows. The cargo hold of their aircraft was open, but Mason's casket wasn't visible yet. That was normal. Usually, when she reached the gate, the airline agent barely looked up, her conversation with a co-worker seemingly more important. Olivia stood there, waiting, her jaw tightening until the agent finally sighed, turning toward her. "Can I help you? I'm Captain Olivia Bennett. I'm escorting Sergeant Mason Reed to Brookfield." She handed over the paperwork. Her voice was calm but firm. "I just need to confirm the procedure once we land." The agent's eyes narrowed as she flipped through the documents. Her fingers clicked across the keyboard, her brow furrowed. Then, she sighed again, this time with something heavier behind it. "That's going to be a problem." Olivia's shoulders stiffened. "What kind of problem?" "Your layover in Dallas. Our policy doesn't allow escorts to stay with the remains during transfers. You need to take a separate flight from the casket." Her heartbeat roared in her ears. "No, that's not happening." The agent didn't even blink. "I'm sorry, but it's policy. I gave his mother my word." Olivia snapped. "I'm his escort. I'm not leaving him." The woman's lips thinned. "The rules don't apply here," Olivia cut in. "I have military clearance. It doesn't override this." Anger surged, but Olivia kept it in check. "Barely. I need to speak with your supervisor." The agent rolled her eyes, but radioed someone, muttering under her breath. Olivia stepped back, trying to breathe, trying to push the rising frustration down. She had carried Mason out of that last mission. She had promised his mother, promised, he wouldn't be alone for a single moment on his journey home. And now, some airline policy was going to break that? "Ma'am," she turned toward the voice. An older man had risen from a seat nearby, a Vietnam veteran. She recognized the insignia on his cap immediately. Deep lines etched his face, his jaw tight. "What's the problem here?" Before Olivia could answer, the gate agent jumped in. "Sir, this is a private matter." "You a military escort?" the veteran asked Olivia directly. "Yes, sir." "And they won't let you stay with him?" "No, sir." His jaw clenched. Without another word, he turned toward the agent. "That's unacceptable." Before the agent could respond, another voice chimed in, a woman clutching a folded flag in her lap. She rose shakily to her feet, holding the fabric to her chest, as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. "My husband died in Afghanistan," she said, her voice trembling but strong. "When they brought him home, a soldier stayed with him every step of the way. Do you know what that meant? To me? To our children." Her gaze burned into the agent. You don't separate a fallen soldier from their escort. You just don't. The agent's composure cracked, but still, she hesitated. Around them, murmurs rose. More travelers tuned in. She's military, someone whispered. Why aren't they letting her do her job? This is disgusting, another muttered. A tall man in a business suit stepped forward. I fly every week for work, he said. I've seen airlines move mountains for celebrities. You're telling me you can't make an exception for this? The agent's face flushed deep red. Sir, it's company policy. This isn't about policy, the veteran cut in, his voice booming now. This is about respect. This soldier made a promise, and you're standing in the way of it. People started clapping. Heads turned. The crowd swelled behind Olivia. Before the agent could say anything else, the airport intercom crackled to life. This is your captain speaking. Captain Bennett, please come to the podium. The entire terminal fell silent. Olivia's stomach twisted. Had he been listening? She straightened her shoulders and stepped forward. The gate agent blinked, stunned, as Olivia approached the desk. Moments later, the pilot emerged, a tall man in his late 50s, silver-haired, calm but commanding. His uniform was crisp, his airline insignia gleaming. Captain Bennett, he greeted, extending his hand. She shook it firmly. Sir, I heard everything. He turned toward the gate agent. This soldier is staying with her comrade. The gate agent faltered. But Captain, he cut her off. I've made exceptions before. I'm making one now. Corporates approved it. The woman froze, stunned into silence. Olivia's throat tightened. Thank you, sir. He nodded once. You'll see him home. Every step of the way. The crowd broke into applause. The veteran gave a sharp nod. The widow wiped away silent tears. The businessman clapped Olivia on the back. Get him home, Captain. I will. The pilot returned to the jet bridge, and Olivia finally exhaled, her chest aching with relief. But it wasn't over yet. The gate agent, still fuming, handed back Olivia's boarding pass. Your seat's been reassigned. Olivia narrowed her eyes. Excuse me. Last row. Before Olivia could respond, the businessman stepped in again. She can have mine. First class. Olivia's breath caught. You don't have to. I want to. The gate agent didn't argue this time. She printed the new pass and shoved it across the counter. Olivia took it, whispering, thank you. The man smiled. Some things matter more than policy. On board, Olivia sat quietly, her duffel at her feet, her pulse finally slowing. As the plane pushed back from the gate, the pilot's voice filled the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, before we take off, I want to recognize someone on this flight. Captain Olivia Bennett is escorting Sergeant Mason Reed home. She made a promise to him, to his family, that he wouldn't make this final journey alone. And she's kept it. The plane erupted in applause. Olivia sat frozen, overwhelmed by the sheer wave of it. The veteran in coach clapped the loudest. The widow placed her hand over her heart. Passengers bowed their heads, hands pressed to chests, in silent respect. The plane lifted into the sky. When a flight attendant approached with a small tray, Olivia blinked, confused. The captain wanted you to have these, the attendant said. On the tray sat a pair of pilot wings. He doesn't give them out often, but he said no one's earned them more. Olivia took them, her throat tight. Thank you. She didn't need applause. She didn't need awards. She just needed to keep her promise. And she had. When the plane touched down in Brookfield hours later, Olivia stepped off, her uniform straight, the pilot wings tucked safely in her pocket. Mason's family stood just beyond security, his mother clutching a tissue, her face streaked with tears, but her back straight. She was waiting. Olivia took a deep breath and took the first step forward. Because promises aren't made to be broken. They're made to be kept.